Procedure.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Teddy, take your seat kindly.
colleagues ask these questions looking for answers. But you can see the front bench has all the junior ministers. And I said junior and I meant it. It's English. In many instances here, they have said, I will consult my senior minister, I will consult. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to find out if all the senior ministers, with the exception of education, who usually send Dr. Muyingu, whether they have notified you that the juniors they have sent are able to deal with our matters. So we don't raise them and then we raise them again, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, it's a minister. Okay? And I had warned Honorable Ssemujju much earlier that the word junior doesn't sound that decent. Let us use the official designation, which is Minister of State. Okay? So that, like when you are abroad, even Minister of State sounds bigger than Minister. There is a professor whom I know. There's a professor whom I know during campaigns. He said, I'm not only a professor, but I'm also an associate professor. Okay? And I also hold a degree of philosophy. So, and the people believe it. So, so let us use Minister of State so that we all, But every minister here is substantive. That's why in the rota which we requested for, we were given a rota. We are not saying a minister, the cabinet minister must be the one to attend. We said each day should be given. But the concern is on how many are here. And Right Honorable Prime Minister, we agreed and you gave us a rota. You should be. But Parliament starts at 2. I would be here by exactly 2, but I usually watch. I'm always watching, and I give room for a few people to come. So let's ensure that we have the numbers. Point noted, it's a very serious point of concern, especially on numbers, so that we avoid the situations of postponing.
Thank you. There has been information that the World Bank has suspended extending loan facilities to Uganda. Right, Honourable Speaker, I have looked at the order paper, and on the order paper, there are various aspects to do with
Honourable Basarira, can you leave me to manage my order paper?
Yes.
Yes, I'm now still on my communication. Please, if there is an item that is substantive on order paper, let us not comment on it now. We shall reach there.
No, the procedural issue I want to raise, Right, Honourable Speaker, that since there was communication on that aspect of the suspension, this Parliament has not been given an opportunity from the side of the executive to formally bring this matter to our attention. Wouldn't it be procedurally right, Honourable Speaker, that we are given an opportunity and a response from the executive on how we'll be able to manage that thing? Because, Honourable Speaker, me, I'm even contemplating that we sue the World Bank.
Please, Honourable Basarira, please.
Yes.
Please. You see, honourable colleagues, in Parliament we do work that helps the country to facilitate whatever it is doing. That matter came up and I gave my ruling, and that was it. It is a matter which is being handled by the executive. The moment we subject it to debate here, that debate won't help the process. I know what I'm talking about. When you hear statements of suing, statements of what, these are issues of diplomacy. The executive is handling. I'm privy even to some information. Okay? I'm even privy to very, very concrete information, and we are following up. But I know the moment I allow debate on that matter on this floor, I know where it will go. So I gave my guidance. It was around, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday last week, that this is the matter, these are loans that are negotiated by the executive, these are rations negotiated by the executive, and whenever we are needed to play a role as parliament, they always come to us and we play our role. I request on that matter we stop there. No, on that matter we stop there. Please. Honorable Nakut Faith.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My attention has been drawn to the operation by Ministry of Works. They are arresting people all over the country who allegedly are all having materials of the Uganda railways. The Uganda railways never reached Karamoja, but the tools that might look like of the Uganda railways reached Karamoja in form of ox plows, farm tools. So last week, the Ministry of Works team arrested people from Napak district, arrested people from many other neighboring districts, and they were taken to Soroti. They were kept in Soroti with their tools, with their ox plows. Right Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the work the Ministry of Works is doing in following up vandalism for government property. However, the extortion happening in the cell in Soroti is alarming. The people who were arrested in Napak reported to me that they were charged 1 million shillings to 3 million shillings to be released. Those who did not have the money remained in cell to date. If this operation is happening in the whole country in that manner, then we are encouraging corruption. My prayer that the Ministry of Works and Transport should issue a mechanism on which the proceeds from this operation are managed. The proceeds include cash and include those metals. Then secondly, that the Ministry of Internal Affairs decentralize this operation. Why would you bring our people to Soroti, and when you release them, they lack transport to go back home? How would their people reach them? Those are my prayers.
Thank you. Right Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker, I have to call Ministry of Works because the Honorable Member is saying the things that look like. So we are not very sure if they were really materials for the railway. So Ministry of Works has to come up and inform us of what materials are, and if really they are extorting money, because she's saying she was informed. We are not very sure. So to be, I will request the member, Right Honorable Speaker, I request that we shall get information from Ministry of Works to give us the full story of that, and then we see how it can be handled.
Right Honorable, this is a very serious matter. I need a response on Wednesday next week, here on the floor. Honorable Mutemburi.
Speaker, under our rules of procedure, in particular Rule 179, assurances and pledges and undertakings are made on the floor of this Parliament by the Prime Minister, who is the lead of government business, and we recorded them as that. The proper procedure, Right Honorable Speaker, with your permission, to make them serious commitments. I would therefore like to know if it would not be procedural okay, if the lead of government business would come out clearly to inform this House that this is clearly an assurance given to that constituency, and that that district should wait for its hospital come next financial year. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Right Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Numbers will take her on. Yes, take note of that. She should appear before your committee. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have students and
Contest under Rule 49 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, on Friday, from Friday up to Sunday, my constituency experienced a serious road accident where I lost close to 12 people. Right Honorable Speaker, these include William Orama, Sebugwao, who was a teacher at Bugato Primary, Chide Mugalu, Chibuka Paul, was a resident from Mitiana but working in my constituency in Wabwoko. Right Honorable Speaker, the cause of the road accidents is as a result of the shoulder work done by UNRA under regular road maintenance as mandated. The kind of work done...
Honorable, such a conclusion is, please, in Parliament you don't make such a conclusion.
I withdraw the statement. Right Honorable Speaker, the kind of maintenance done is a mere collection of muddy and silty soils beside the road, which is heaped and from behind, neither in front. And this causes serious accident where people have lost lives. In my prayers, Right Honorable Speaker, I pray that the Ministry of Works and Transport, pray that as a norm of the government, can compensate these people who have died out of their own making, but maybe by the worker being...
Is it a norm?
Yes,
it's a norm by government to...
I've always seen the Prime Minister...
Government...
It's not a norm.
Next item. Honorable Aisha.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a procedural matter that I've been struggling to understand. That is Rule 24 in relation to Rule 96(2)B. Right Honorable Speaker, when... Yes, being a procedural matter, okay. Is constituted of members present in the House and others on Zoom. And when a matter is to be decided upon by a vote, where people have to pronounce themselves through aye or nay, and a situation where people on Zoom are muted and yet are part of the quorum, I have been trying to understand how their decision could be considered in that situation. When people on Zoom are considered to be part of the quorum in the House, and the matter decided upon is through voice voting, people saying aye and nay. It's a matter I've been struggling to understand since yesterday because the quorum here was part of people on Zoom. I beg for clarification.
Thank you. Honorable, that one shouldn't worry you. We made it very clear because Zoom is very technical. We always make it clear. The clerk has very clear instructions that when we are putting a question, okay, they unmute right away. That's how we do it, and that's a technical issue. So I listen wherever voices are coming from. I don't know how to differentiate a voice from Zoom, a voice from someone who is here, as long as the clerk unmutes. And yeah. So please, next item.
Item of papers. Item 3.1, report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on an oversight to Mpondwe one-stop border post.
Chair.
Border post. Right Honourable Speaker, I lay. Right Honourable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 34, Sub-Rule 2 of our Rules of Procedure, I beg to present a brief summary of the report.
And we have that sorted, okay? Procedure, Honorable Soro.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Last Thursday, you guided that the ministerial statement on the International Youth Day celebrations will be debated today on 23rd August, Wednesday, which is today. When I looked at the order paper, it's not there. I want to seek your indulgence, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Will we get a chance to debate this important section of the country?
Sure, Honor, we have, but I had very, very critical business, which I felt I should first handle, and then this is just a debate, no resolution to be made, but here we have business where we need resolutions, so I felt we should give it priority. So, but clerk, indeed, I had already instructed clerk to ensure it has time on the order paper, together with the one of our committee for science and technology. Also is supposed to be having space on the order paper. Yeah. Honorable.
Right Honorable. Right Honorable, we try to come to this house to make sure that we can put in our input. And sometimes we also have matters that are so burning that we come to your office, try to put ourselves on a list that we may participate in the debate, especially the matter of national importance. So, Right Honorable, the procedure matter I'm raising, I wish under which criteria can be used to make sure that we can be part of the people who are supposed to contribute to this house. So is it procedurally right that some members can write and rewrite and be on your paper, but are not given an opportunity? I thank you, Right Honorable.
Honorable colleague, matters of national importance are provided for under my communication. That's number one. Number two, when you look at rules 41 to rule 45, you have very many avenues of bringing questions from Prime Minister to the ministers to chairpersons, to all of them are provided for under the rules. And I think it goes even up to around Rule 50, okay? Giving you all avenues. So raising questions does not only mean you wait for matters of national importance. You can raise those matters through all other rules. That's number one. Number two, honorable colleagues, I made it very clear I pick 5 questions, but today I've gone as far as 9. And from 2 p.m., it's now coming 4 p.m., we are still on matters of national importance, yet we have a substantive order paper. So, please, I'm also going to remove the 5 I've been giving, if that's how it's going to be judged. Because you don't come here to discuss only questions you ask. You come here to discuss the order paper for which from item 1 up to item number 9, item number 10, we are still on item number 3 because I gave you space to speak. Then I would rather do an order paper of only matters of national importance. So I'm sorry, Honorable, if your matter has not been picked, but today I have gone beyond the matters that I usually pick, which I usually 5. So next time, please, you will have a chance. Others have gotten a chance. Yes, Honorable Members of further procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to draw your attention to the provisions of Rule 179.7. And I wish to quote Mr. Speaker. The rule provides that the Speaker shall allot time for members to raise specific government undertakings and assurances made in their constituencies. Right Honorable Speaker, some members have been asking that if an assurance is made in my constituency, how does it reach the floor of Parliament so that it can follow under the mandate of the Government Assurance Committee? But Right Honorable Speaker, this rule is very clear and it is mandatory. I wonder whether it wouldn't be procedurally okay, Right Honorable Speaker, for you to guide this House on when we can raise these assurances so that
the business we've conducted. Honorable Pia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The procedural matter I'm raising is that on the order paper, we have a number of committee reports where their recommendations and action taken reports will need to be provided as per Rule 2020. However, Right Honorable Speaker, in the last session...
Rule 220, not 2020.
Yes, Rule 220. We had several committee reports that were presented, recommendations were adopted. However, till date, action taken reports have not been provided. One of the key reports is the report from the Committee of East African Affairs on the delayed payment of the former employees of the East Africa community. You had directed that action to be taken report again within 1 month. It's now 6 months. And some of these senior citizens have died. Right Honorable Speaker, payment delayed is payment denied. The procedural issue I'm raising is that will it be procedurally right that we have action taken reports to be provided for this particular committee recommendations? But secondly, for all the committee reports that were presented last year, adopted, why don't we have it provided for that we get, the Prime Minister compiles all of them, and we have action taken reports? It will avoid us raising some of the issues that we are continuously raising as a matter of national importance. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Dr. Pierre, that's a very, very good point. But we usually phase our legislative process. At the time after the budget, what do? We have a time which, of course, we don't announce it here, but in our planning, we say we have a time for accountability committee reports. We have a time for bills, handling bills. We have a time for recess. We do have a time for action taken reports. You remember the other time when, I think it is around 3 months ago, when we handled nearly all action taken reports. But that's very, very important, because like for the East African community, I read in papers, that money again went back to the consolidated fund. But people are saying, you have not paid us. So, and the ministry is saying, no, the people we received and verified, we paid. The money which went back are for people who never turned up. So it's a very, very important matter we should look into. We help these citizens, these senior citizens of ours. So clerk, pick out that item and ensure we get a report. Right Honourable Prime Minister, take up the matter. We need action taken reports on issues on resolution that we made. Clerk, extract all resolutions and communicate to the Prime Minister so that we get these reports from the ministers. Yes, Honourable Martin Muzare.
Honourable Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising is in regard to the 1 billion that was sent to the districts. Right Honourable Speaker, in this very house.
Colleagues, I've handled 5 procedure matters following each other. I'm not having a session for procedure.
Item number 3.2, laying of papers, report of the delegation of Parliament of Uganda to the 66th session of the OACP Parliamentary Assembly and Government to borrow, to authorize government to borrow up to unit of accounts 125.6 million, equivalent to euros 147.67 million from the African Development Fund. 0.69 million from the African Development Fund, and unit of accounts 50 million, equivalent to euros 59 million from the African Development Bank, and euros 25.9841 million from the Corporate Internalization Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of Kampala-Malava meter gauge railway project.
Honourable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move a motion to authorize government to borrow up to units of account 125.16 million, an equivalent of euros 147.69 million from the African Development Fund, and units of account 50 million, equivalent to euros 59 million from the African Development Bank and euros 25.9841 million from the Corporate Internationalization Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project. I beg to move.
Is the motion seconded? Honorable Namyangu, Honorable Keyo, Honorable Kafuzi, Right Honorable Nakadama, Honorable Murimba, Honorable Chemongis, Honorable Mateke, Ajumani, Bujiri, Sinjiro, Chivadia. Thank you. Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair of the committee, because all these reasons were handed over to the committee. And therefore, that's what the chair.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Chair, 15 minutes
Speaker.
enough for you.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'll try to summarize. Right Honorable Speaker, before I present the report of the Committee on National Economy on the proposal by government to borrow up to units of accounts 125.16 million, equivalent to 147.69 million from the African Development Fund, and units of accounts 50 million, equivalent to 59 million euros from the African Development Bank, and euros 25.9841 million from the Corporate Internationalization Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project. I beg to lay the report of the committee and the minutes of the committee for the same. Right Honorable Speaker, on the 4th of May 2023, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development presented to Parliament a proposal by government to borrow up to 125 million units of accounts from the African Development Fund and euros 65 million from the African Development Bank and 25.9841 million from the Corporate Internationalization Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of the Kampala meter gauge railway project, and it was referred to the Committee on National Economy. The committee considered the proposal and now begs to report. Right Honorable Speaker, on the 11th of May 2021, that was at the tail end of the 10th Parliament, Parliament passed a resolution authorizing government to borrow up to units of accounts 179.56 million, equivalent to 216 million euros from the African Development Fund, and units of accounts 69.94 million, equivalent to 84.41 million from the African Development Bank, and units of accounts 21.653, equivalent to 25.984 million from the Corporate Internationalization Development Fund, Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project. In the letter dated 25th of May 2022, 1 year later, the loan was approved by Parliament, and African Development Bank informed the Ministry of Finance of the changes of the loan amounts. Accordingly, the bank's communication, the loan amount was reduced to introduce the grant as indicated in the table. Honorable members, I will not go through the table, but you can see the figures of the loan that was reduced. The loan from the African Development Fund was reduced by 66.7 million euros, and they introduced a grant element of about 53.45 million euros. And the loan from African Development Bank was reduced by 19.441 million euros. You can go through. The source of information is the draft financing agreement and the letter from the African Development Bank Group on the loan and the grant. The introduction of the new source in the form of a grant of units of accounts 44.54 million that is equivalent to 53.44 million euros, reduces the total loan amount expected to finance the meter gauge railway project from the African Development Bank Group from 249.5 million, that is 92%, to 223.38 million, that is 81%. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee had engagement, had meetings with the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. We engaged Minister of Works and Transport, Uganda Railway Corporation, and then the Sector Committee on Physical Infrastructure. The committee went as far as reviewing the documents that were provided to the committee, that included the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development's brief on the loan request, the report from the Committee on Physical Infrastructure, the Public Finance Management Act, Act 2015, and a number of other documents, including reviewing the resolution.
Honorable, go on observations, please.
Okay. Right Honorable Speaker, I oblige. The committee also had some field visits. We visited the factory, the concrete plant factory. Let me go straight away. I believe members will be in position to read and internalize the other bit of the loan.
We don't read from here. By now we should have read. That's why I'm saying you go to observation.
Right Honorable Speaker, the committee had 5 observations and made recommendations based on these observations. Observation number 1 was the vandalism and theft of the railway infrastructure. The committee was informed that large portions of the railway infrastructure across the country has been destroyed by theft and vandalism. The problem has been encouraged by the increased number of industries that use railway sleepers as a raw material for manufacturing steel products. There are some people who have become accustomed to earning a living by stealing the metallic rails and turning them into scrap. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee further was informed that prone to theft by the scrap dealers. The committee made the following recommendations. Uganda Railway Corporation and the Uganda Railway Police should be adequately facilitated to be able to patrol, protect the railway infrastructure and detect theft in real time, and so that the criminals can be arrested and dealt with adequately. A government should consider an upward revision in the legal penalties for vandalism of railway assets in order to make them stringent enough to deter the vice of vandalism of the rehabilitated railway network. Observation number 2 is the reduction of the funding reduction in funding towards the project. The committee observed that the total project cost for the project is estimated at €330 million to cater for both the civil works and consultancy as indicated in Annex 1. In 2021, the 10th Parliament was informed that the project was to be financed through the loan proceeds with government counterpart funding covering the shortfall of 2.9 million euros as indicated in the table below. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm not going to read the table. The committee was concerned that the loan amount proposed to be borrowed from the African Development Bank and the African Development Fund under the new terms is lower than the previously approved loan amount to be utilized in the implementation of the same project, even though the African Development Fund has now introduced a grant of 53.7 million euros. The overall amount expected from both the creditor has been reduced by 32.67 million euros. Moreover, the grant amount indicates that the units of account 15.26 million
which is 30% of the grant amount, is towards compensation of the project affected persons, further reducing the total funding to the project works. Given that the project funding for ADB and ADF is now expected to reduce by 32.67 million euros, the committee expresses concerns over its implications on the project's implementation, as this reduction would ordinarily affect the project scope. Moreover, the certificate of financial implication availed to the committee indicated government's commitment to avail the 2.92 million euros as a counterpart funding towards the project, which was sufficient with the financing terms of the creditor in 2021. In addressing this concern, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development informed the committee that even with the noted reduction in funding, the resources being proposed would be sufficient to implement the refurbishment of the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project. The Minister of Finance then gave a verbal commitment to the committee that for any cost overruns that will necessitate additional funding for this project, the government of Uganda's domestic resources would be provided to ensure the completion of the project. The committee recommends that in order to facilitate oversight to this project, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should provide Parliament with a formal commitment of the government to provide counterpart funding towards the project in light of the new financing terms from the creditor, in order to give Parliament assurance that the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project should be implemented as originally planned without any changes in the project scope. Honorable Speaker, observation number 3, compensation of the project affected persons. The committee observed that 3.05 of the draft loan agreement between the government of Uganda and the African Development Bank, and Section 405.05 of the draft loan agreement between government of Uganda and the African Development Bank both relate to the conditions for disbursement for works involving resettlement. Both agreements indicate that the obligation of the creditor is to disburse the loan for works that involves resettlement to be financed by the borrower shall be subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. 1A, submission of a satisfactory evidence that all project affected persons in respect of the civil works in a given lot have been compensated or resettled in accordance with the Environmental and Social Management Plan, the Resettlement Action Plan, and the agreed works and compensation schedule, and the bank's safeguard policies prior to the commencement of civil works in such sections, and in any case before the PAP's actual move and or taking off land and related assets. B, in lieu of paragraph A above, the submission of a satisfactory evidence indicating that the resources allocated for the compensation or resettlement of the PAPs have been deposited in a dedicated account in a bank acceptable to the fund or bank, or remitted to the trust third party acceptable to the fund or bank, where the borrower can prove to the satisfaction of the bank that compensation or settlement of the PAP in accordance with paragraph A above shall not be undertaken fully or partially because of the following reasons. 1, the identification of the PAPs by the borrower is not feasible or possible. 2, ongoing litigation involving the PAPs and or affecting the compensation or settlement exercise. 3, any other reason beyond the control of the borrower, as discussed and agreed with the fund or the bank. The project resettlement action plan was carried out in 2 sections and reported in 2 separate reports. Volume 1 relates specifically to the Malaba-Namambe section of the meter gauge line, while Volume 2 focuses on the Kampala and Wakiso area of the line, which includes Kampala, Portibel, Namamve, Nalukulongo, Kiengera lines. According to the plans, although the land belongs to Uganda Railway Corporation, it is expected that land users and occupants will be entitled to compensation of the trees and potential crops and structures in accordance with the Ugandan law. The compensation relates for crops and buildings of non-permanent structure were determined under Section 59, subsection 1, paragraph F of the Land Act by the District Land Board of the respective local governments from Kampala to Tororo that are updated on an annual basis. The 2 PAPs indicate, the two RAPs indicate that the total estimated cost of compensation of the project affected person and the cost of the implementation of the RAPs for the entire project is 143.5 billion Uganda shillings, with Namamve to Malaba section accounting to 24% of the compensation cost, while Kampala and Wakiso accounting for 76%. The committee noted that out of the required 143 billion Uganda shillings for compensation of PAPs, the grant amount, the grant from the African Development Bank is only providing for 15.9 million euros, which is equivalent to 63.65 billion Uganda shillings, using an exchange rate of $1 to 4,000 Uganda shillings. The government has not committed to avail additional 79.9 billion that is required to complete the compensation of the PAPs during the project life, and instead has indicated that funding required for the financial year 2023-2024, leaving outer years without commitment. The approved budget for 2023-2024 for the land acquisition under the project is Uganda shillings 3.915 billion and external funding of 8.563 billion. The committee was concerned that government lost the grant funding for the EU of 26 million euros towards the rehabilitation of the railway, of the Tororo meter gauge railway, because government did not provide the required counterpart funding of 13 million euros. And now, government has to fully fund the rehabilitation of the Tororo-Gulu meter gauge railway. Moreover, during the budgeting process, the counterpart funding always appears as a funding gap, implying it was of among the priorities of the sector. Consequently, government is now going to spend double of the government would have to spend had the counterpart funding been availed. The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development commits to provide for the 79.9 billion Uganda shillings needed to fully compensate the PAPs over the project life to enable disbursement of the loan proceeds as per the funding agreement and avoid the repeat of what happened to the grant under the rehabilitation of the Tororo-Gulu meter gauge railway line. Government should free all the railway land from encroachers to guarantee the timely implementation of this project. This will ultimately minimize the government's expenditure on compensating people who encroached the railway line. The policy, legal, and institutional framework. The committee noted that during the policy, legal, and institutional framework of the railway subsector is not conducive to the growth of the subsector. There is a need for a comprehensive policy, legal, and institutional framework of the railway subsector with a view of making the policy, legal, and institutional framework responsive to the current prevailing and dynamic needs of Uganda, characterized by the rapid economic, social, and cultural development. For example, the Uganda Railway Corporation's current organizational structure is a major constraint as a department structure is not appropriate for a modern railway as a business focus is needed. In addition, Uganda Railway Corporation Act 1992 did not foresee the management and regulatory policy for the inclusion of other players in the railway transport. The Act is silent on the mandate, function, and management of the new actor in the railway business. At present, there exists a new stakeholders within the railway transport service delivery, like the Standard Gauge Railway Company, which was not envisaged at the time the Act was enacted in 1992. The committee recommends as follows. Government fast-tracks the long-awaited reforms of the Uganda Railway Corporation Act, CAP 331, in order to establish and investigate the legal issues, gaps, and challenges that continue to stifle operations under the Uganda Railway Corporation Act, as well as the issues curtailing the implementation of the Act over the 31-year period since its enactment. Adopt guidelines for the railway subsector to cover safety, security, infrastructure financing, qualified staff, and quality services. The last one, Right Honorable Speaker, the development of the railway infrastructure. The committee observed that a well-developed railway network contributes to the socio-economic development of a country as it enables connectivity, boosts trade, and provides access to workplaces, healthcare services, and leisure activities, among others. The development of a dependable railway transport infrastructure facilitates the mobility and accessibility of a country's factors of production and at the same time reduces environmental degradation. This ultimately would boost and enhance trade, tourism, and improves the general standards of living. The committee notes that over the past decades, government accorded high priority to road transport over rail transport infrastructure development. Cargoes that would ordinarily be transported on rail lines is now routed on the road network. In essence, this has contributed to high costs of doing business as well as increasing the road maintenance needs and costs. The committee was informed that limited investment in railway network is attributed to high initial investment costs needed to set up a railway investment and management system. The East African community undertook to invest and set up the standard gauge railway, which is expected to improve regional connectivity. Whereas the standard gauge railway is a good investment, members stated member states will still need the meter gauge railway to complement the standard gauge railway for purposes of last mile connectivity. In light of this, the committee noted the need to rehabilitate the existing meter gauge railway lines across the country in places where the standard gauge railway has not been planned to be routed. I was informed that it is the wish of the Uganda Railway Corporation to carry out serious development of the railway network so as to reduce the traffic burden on the existing highway roads that are narrow. This, however, requires more funding to be able to refurbish the remaining railway lines of Kampala, Kasese, Tororo, Gulu, Pakwach, among others, which is not available at the moment. The committee was further informed that the government of Uganda contracted a Spanish contractor to manufacture concrete sleepers for part of the railway line under rehabilitation. The same company has established a railway training school located at Nalukulongo to train and equip the Ugandan engineers with railway engineering knowledge. This implies that at the end of the contract period, the company will close the business and goes back. The committee recommends that the government fast tracks the implementation of the standard gauge railway to enable Uganda move in tandem with the East African partner states. 2, at the end of the contract period of Imathia Construction Company, government invests in concrete sleepers production plant fully equipped and owned by government of Uganda to facilitate production of concrete sleepers for rehabilitation and construction of other railway lines across the country. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, the proposal by government to borrow up to units of accounts 125.16 million, equivalent to 150 million euros from the African Development Fund, and units of accounts 54.17 million, equivalent to 65 million euros from the African Development Bank for the refurbishment of the Kampala-Malaba meter gauge railway project be approved, subject to the recommendations therein. I beg to report, Right Honourable.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable colleagues, I read through both reports. Most of the issues are clearly related and around counterpart funding, around RAPs, and all that. So we shall find we are repeating ourselves during debate. If we are to debate one, we go to another. My guidance would be that we also receive the report for Kampala Metropolitan, since the issues and the funders are closely related, and then we debate at once. But then when we go to resolutions, we shall put separate resolutions for each run. Okay? Thank you. Now, before, yes, clerk, for next item, and let the clerk capture the whole report on the answer, not the summarized version, for future reference. Yes, Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as much as we are working through different committees of Parliament, we continue to remain in one house, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm standing here seeking guidance from you on how best to proceed. Under the activities of the Government Assurances and Implementations Committee, my deputy led the committee into finding out the status of the assurance to construct the standard gauge railway between Tororo and Gulu. The committee was fully funded by Parliament, and it made a report that was handed in to the clerk. As my colleague was reading the report before us, I discovered that there are so many areas that were touched by the Government Assurances and Implementation Committee about that matter. And because a lot of time was invested and resources in that matter, The committee made several findings about that matter, Mr. Speaker, sir. The guidance now I'm seeking, Mr. Speaker, is whether it would not have been procedural okay for the committee that is making the presentation while we are seeking a new loan to reconcile with their report with ours, so that it would please you, Right Honorable Speaker, if the two reports could come at the same time and be discussed together so that one can enrich the other as Parliament takes a decision about this matter. I so beg to be guided, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Namboze. I really appreciate your observation. And as a Parliament, we work in an integrated form. We don't work in silence, okay? But now, when you look at the loan we are considering, this is for purposes of completing our process with the funder only. Issues to do with implementation and oversight, they will go on. They'll go on, but this is for purposes because the funder requires it. Okay? The funder says, I need a resolution that Parliament has allowed you to borrow, and then I release money. That does not take away our responsibility, and that's why, according to our rules, it is the sectoral committee that is provided for under our rules that we must consult with the sectoral committee where the project falls. So if that was done, then the Committee on National Economy now goes ahead and does the report. But that does not mean that the issues you have identified are swept under the carpet, and we are going to ensure we give you space quickly before they even go further, and these issues are raised so that the minister, as he's preparing, he also considers your issues, Honourable Member.
The Association of the World Bank Group, and also borrow up to euro 40 million, equivalent to US dollars 42.66 million from the AFD to finance the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, as you come, Honourable Minister, I need you to make a clarification to the House which will settle the minds of our colleagues here. We saw the statement from the World Bank. Of course, I saw it in detail. By the time I put it on the order paper, I first assessed and made a judgment, but we need confirmation from you as a minister that indeed this is not one of the affected loans before we proceed. You can first give us that assurance, then I will allow you to move your motion. No, please. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is true, on the 8th of August this year, the World Bank Group issued a statement in which they informed us that no new public financing to Uganda will be presented to their Board of Executive Directors until efficacy of the additional measures to ensure inclusion and non-inclusion has been tested. Right Honorable Speaker, on 31st of May 2022, the World Bank Board approved the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program, and this approval is scheduled to expire on 30th November 2023. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, the assurance I want to give this House is that the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area project is not among the projects affected by the World Bank statement. It is therefore proper that we consider the project and process it to enable the executive to start implementation.
Thank you. I think that's very clear. The statement was referring to new projects. So all projects which have already been approved by the World Bank, to my understanding, including some which are not yet even here, but were approved by the board, will be brought here so that we continue. The expiry means parliamentary approval. By that time, we need to have approved as parliament so that the project can go on. Honourable Minister, move your motion.
Mr. Speaker, before I move a motion, and further to your guidance, we have a number of projects in the pipeline which the board of the World Bank has already approved, which we shall be taking to Cabinet and subsequently to the House, which have no effect of the recent decision by the World Bank. I thought I would also add this clarification. Mr. Speaker, with this, I now beg to move a motion to authorize government to borrow up to special drawing rights 374.8 million, equivalent to US dollars 518 million from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group and receive a grant of special drawing rights 34.8 million, an equivalent of US dollars 48 million from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group, and also borrow up to 40 million euros, an equivalent of 42.66 million from Agency Française de Développement, ADF, to finance the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program. I beg to move, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. The motion seconded. I'm looking for MPs from Kampala. Engineer Nakawa. Yes. Honourable Numbers is here. Honourable Hildeman.
This is a report of the Committee on National Economy on the proposal by government to borrow up to special drawing rights at 374.8 million, equivalent to US dollars 518 million from the International Development Association, IDA, the World Bank Group, and receive a grant of special drawing rights 34.8 million, equivalent to $48 million from the International Development Association, IDA of the World Bank Group, and also borrow up to 40 million euros, equivalent to $42.66 million from the Agency Française de Développement to finance the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program. Right Honourable Speaker, this loan is going to benefit a number of local governments, Kampala, capital city, Makinde Sabagabo, Nansana Municipality, Mukono Municipality, Chira Municipality, Wakiso District, and Mukono District, then Mpigi, and Entebbe Municipality. And a total of 550 kilometers will be constructed, tarmacked in those various local governments, in addition to the other deliveries. In terms of the loan, the $518 million can be as a grace period of 6 years and 38 years of maturity. It can be read there by members. Then the second loan, which is 40 million euros, has a grace period of 7 years and a maturity of 25 years with interest rate of 1%. details can be read by members. The constitutionality of the loan, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the first loan, which is 518 million euros, is highly concessional at 46% in terms of grant element. Then the second, which is 40 million euros, is the 41% concessional in terms of grant element at a discount rate of 5% per annum. Right Honorable Speaker, in terms of budget implications, the project is included in the financial year 2023-24 approved budget, and in terms of economic benefit and return of the project, given that the Greater Kampala metropolitan area will invest 80% of the loan in mobility, accessibility, and connectivity, the benefit cost ratio for the program at 12% discount rate is calculated to be 5.7 and net present value. So the program, the loan has a higher rate of return. In terms of project implementation arrangement, there's going to be a central coordination team involving different local governments, in addition to Ministry of Local Government and the KCCA. The current debt situation, Right Honorable Speaker, the loan will definitely impact our current debt situation, but at a later date, we shall present the performance of loans and the other issues. Right Honorable Speaker, in presenting and processing this loan, we visited all the benefiting local governments and also held meetings with the Sectoral Committee on Presidential Affairs. So we are at tandem with that committee. Observations and recommendations. The committee observed that during the committee field interactions with KCCA and the 8 Greater Kampala local governments, it was noted that there was limited progress made by these entities towards having in place all detailed designs, BOQs, right of way, fully acquired, perhaps fully compensated and relocated, continuous sub-project sites free of encumbrances in order to make them available for handover to contractors who will be awarded civil works contracts for the infrastructure projects. Wakiso District Local Government had 36% of all required road designs for selected sub-projects ready. KCCA had 55.5% of all the required road and drainage designs ready. Kira Municipal Council had 30% of all the required road designs for selected sub-projects ready. Makinde Sawagabo, 65%. Mukono Municipality, 36%. Entebbe Municipality, 50%. Nansana Municipality, 61%. And the local government of Mpigi and Mukono did not have any completed road designs for the selected projects under the program. This was attributed to resource constraints that have hindered them from undertaking the required program implementation. Readiness activities, especially the preparation of detailed designs and availability of necessary certificates from National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, to confirm that all the environmental standards required have been complied with before construction. The committee recommends as follows. The Ministry and the 8 metropolitan local governments and the 3 districts should fast track the completion of all the pending detailed designs for the priority infrastructure sub-projects that will be worked on under this program in order to make them ready for civil works implementation. Recommendation 2, government should establish a joint physical planning unit for Greater Kampala metropolitan area to be able to address the challenges, size, and standardization of the roads. 3. In addition, KCCA and 8 metropolitan local governments should also ensure that all pending BOQs, right-of-way acquisition, compensation of projects affected persons where applicable, relocation of utility lines, and availability of necessary certificates of NEMA to confirm that all the environmental standards requirements have been complied with before construction are concluded in advance to guarantee the timely implementation of the infrastructure sub-projects. 12.2, Program Coordination. The committee observed that under the Uganda Decentralization Policy Framework, the deliveries of urban services are devolved to local governments that are independent corporate legal entities. Until recently, districts and municipal governments in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area carried out their urban planning and urban management responsibilities with little or no coordination. The result has been uncoordinated investments, lack of synergies, and limited economies of scale in service provision. 2, although the capacity to implement the various activities under the program do exist in KCC and 8 metropolitan local governments, there is low capacity for coordinated metropolitan planning and management to ensure the achievement of a metropolitan logic. Currently, each of the 9 Greater Kampala metropolitan area subnational entities are operating as an independent corporate entity. The KCCA Metropolitan Local Government Councillors, elected representatives, and the Metro Development Forum will monitor program implementation and provide oversight function at KCCA and the Metropolitan Local Government level. The recommendation, KCCA and the 8 metropolitan local governments should, as a matter of fact, agree that working together across jurisdiction is an essential principle for the future development of the Greater Kampala metropolitan area. This should be a deliberate commitment of these beneficiary entities under this program. 2, the Ministry of Kampala Capital City Authority and Metropolitan Affairs should ensure that there is strong multi-agency coordination, intensive contract management, rigorous due diligence, appropriate resettlement action plan implementation, establishment and maintenance of functioning grievances redress mechanisms, and extensive communication strategies during the implementation of this program. In order to decongest the western, northern, and eastern routes of the metropolitan, the Chira-Nsangi Circular Road should be completed. The segment of Matuga, Wakiso, to Bulova, and Nsangi should be included in the project. Further, the Jokers to Mukono Road be included in the project. Government should establish a one-stop metropolitan physical planning unit in order to coordinate joint physical plans of the Greater Kampala metropolitan area. This will ensure standardization of works and value for money. The political leaders in the KCC and 8 metropolitan local governments should have a strong commitment in supporting the development objective of this Greater Kampala Metropolitan Urban Development Program support. The strong commitment will help in the improving communication between stakeholders as well as mediation between communities and local governments, in addition to enhancing transparency, accountability, and participation by all key stakeholders during the implementation of this program. Government should table to this House a comprehensive traffic decongestion plan for Greater Kampala metropolitan area. Government should consider establishing a new planned city to serve as a new development hub, fully served with utilities. This will motivate and attract planned investment, settlement, and will in one way or the other decongest the Kampala city. 12.3, capacity of the Ministry, Kampala Capital City Authority and Metropolitan Affairs to coordinate development and management. The committee observed that a well-functioning metropolitan area is a result of more than the sum of well-performing local governments. There is therefore a need to align the incentives and provide for territorial logic to responsibilities and mandates already performed by KCCA and the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Local Governments under the decentralization policy framework. The government approved the structure of this new ministry and recruitment are ongoing, and a substantive accounting officer was appointed. The committee recommends the following. 1. The government should first policy and legal framework for the development and management of the Greater Kampala metropolitan area in order to avoid overlaps in the mandates with sector ministries, departments and agencies, and the Kampala Capital City Authority. 2. Government should strengthen the capacity of the Ministry of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs through the filling of all the vacant posts as per its approved structure during the implementation of this program to enable the entity exercise its coordination and oversight role of the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Economic Development Strategy 2020-2030. 12.4, legal covenants of the credit financing agreement. The committee observed that in order for the loan to become effective upon approval by Parliament, financing agreements requires government to have recruited or designated the following key staff for the program support team. 1, program coordinator. 2, 2 registered engineers, at least one of whom shall be a civil engineer. 3, procurement specialist. 4, financial management specialist. 5, a physical planner. 6, a monitoring and evaluation specialist. 7, an environmental specialist, a social development specialist, a communication specialist, and a local economic development specialist, all with qualifications, experience, and terms of reference satisfactory to the association. The committee recommends the following. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and the Ministry of Kampala, Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs should ensure that all the loan effectiveness conditions are timely fulfilled in order to trigger the timely effectiveness and disbursement of the credit for the program objectives to be met as planned. 12.5, sustainability of infrastructures to be financed by the program. The committee observed that 1, although KCC and the metropolitan local governments do have the technical capacities to implement the program, there are substantial risks associated with their inability to mobilize own source of revenue to meet the operating costs for the infrastructures to be financed under the program. 2, this inability to collect enough own source revenue is mainly attributed to actions by central government, which on many occasions do undermine the ability of local governments to collect adequate own source revenue. Such actions in the past included abolition of certain taxes and pronouncing blanket exemptions for other revenue sources, such as property rates on owners occupied residential houses. 3, a number of roads constructed in the country are failing to reach their designed life, partly due to inadequate maintenance, among others. The budget for Uganda Road Fund has been declining over the past years, while that of road construction has been on the increase. This implies that the increasing paved road network puts pressure on the diminishing road maintenance budget, a situation where more roads added to the network are competing for a reducing road maintenance budget. 4, the quality of roads constructed by some companies has been a concern. Some roads designed for 15 years fail within 5 years, and this cannot just be attributed to maintenance of the roads. Early failure of roads leads to higher cost maintenance. Because as a road that would require routine maintenance will now require periodic maintenance or reconstruction earlier than expected. 5, the program intends to have markets constructed in the selected areas. However, the design of these markets is not yet ready. A number of markets across the country were constructed. However, their utilization remains below capacity, and yet the maintenance of these markets relies on the revenues collected from the markets. The underutilization of some of these markets is attributed to the design of the markets, which acts as a hindrance as it does not favor the products to be sold. The committee recommends as follows. 1, KCCA and 8 metropolitan local governments undertake revenue administration systems that are convenient, cost-effective, and promote compliance by citizens to pay taxes through investing in tax administration reforms that targets those revenue sources that have high yields. 2, KCC and 8 metropolitan local governments should explore the introduction of simple tolling mechanisms among some of the strategic priority roads in Greater Kampala metropolitan area. These mechanisms will contribute to meeting the operating costs for the infrastructure to be financed under the program. Government should increase funding towards maintenance of the road network in the country, since the newly constructed roads are to be maintained with the available funding under Uganda Road Fund. Minister of KCCA should ensure that the contractors chosen to carry out works under this program have a proven history of quality works to minimize on the cost of maintaining the outputs after construction. The ministry should ensure that the design of the markets under the program factors in the preferences of intended market vendors to ensure that they are fully utilized upon completion and becoming self-sustaining. 12.6, value for money. The committee observed the following. 1, KCC and 8 metropolitan local governments will have to achieve value for money when delivering the infrastructure developments. The IDA program credit and grant fund, that's US dollars, $566 million, will be disbursed to KCC and the 8 metropolitan local governments through a set of disbursement-linked indicators linked to the program development objective. These will be assessed annually by the Office of the Auditor General and will focus on 3 parameters, namely economy, quality, and whether the investment service has been provided at a competitive unit cost. Efficiency, whether the investment service has been delivered in a timely manner. And effectiveness, whether the investment service has been put in its intended use. The committee recommends the following. Government should strengthen the audit arrangements of this program through Auditor General conducting timely annual audits during the implementation of this program. 2, the Ministry of Kampala Capital City Authority and Metropolitan Affairs should ensure that all the infrastructure sub-projects demonstrate higher value for money with clear linkages between efficiency in procedures, public financial management procedures, procurement, etc., and economy and effectiveness, that is quality and utilization of infrastructure. 13, utilization of the grant. The committee observed that a grant amounting to US dollars $48 million has been provided under Pillar 4 and Pillar 5 for institutional strengthening for Ministry of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs and the 8 metropolitan local governments. The committee was informed that the current establishment of the Greater Kampala metropolitan area requires capacity enhancement to be able to adequately deliver on its mandate. The money is meant for activities related to skills development, retooling, and system development, e-governance, rollout, search, e-payments, e-feedback, etc., to allow the Greater Kampala metropolitan area and local governments perform their functions as true metropolitan government managers. The committee, however, notes that the US $48 million is quite a lot to only be spent on capacity and institutional strengthening. The committee therefore recommends that US $30 million out of the US $48 million be reallocated to the roads component so as to increase the number of kilometers of roads to be rehabilitated and upgraded in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, conclusion. The committee therefore recommends that the request by government to borrow up to special drawing rights SDR 374.8 million equivalent to US dollars 518 million from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group and receive a grant of special drawing rights 34.8 million equivalent to $48 million from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group, and also borrow up to 40 million euros, that is 42.66 million from AFD to finance the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program, be approved subject to the recommendations therein. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, I beg to report.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we are going to have a debate. This is usually from our practice, how we've always been doing. Even the issues that are captured, I usually take our time. So I'll start with Engineer Barimwezo. I had an honorable bet numbers. I'm starting with the MPs from the affected areas with regard to this run of Kampala. It's somehow deliberate. Give that opportunity. It's always like sort of a practice because they are constituents where we can argue that all of us, okay, but you will say, okay, so in the Honorable Aran, I'm checking, yeah, in PG. Aisha Kawanda, it doesn't reach your area. Yes. Now, it seems the benefiting areas, we don't have NRM. There's Honorable Kayondo, I have Wakiso, and then I'm going to allow you, Honorable colleagues, Honorable Kakembo. I'm going to allow you. We do 2 minutes, we pick each one of us quickly. Yeah. And the in-laws of Kampala, I will ensure you benefit.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the good report. I am going to handle the Greater Kampala and metropolitan area, where basically I subscribe. Right Honorable Speaker, Kampala has 2,110 kilometers of road network, but only 300 is paved and in better condition. Majority of our roads are dilapidated. They have outlived the design life. And indeed, it's critical that we have our roads revamped and made good to reduce the cost of monies that we spend in jam, because overall we lose over 240,000 man-hours in jam and over 10 trillion in terms of money a year. Right Honorable, I'm going to touch the issue concerning sustainability of the infrastructure. Yes, road infrastructure is the most important public asset, and we need the maintenance for these roads. This financial year, Right Honorable Speaker, KCC received only 10 billion for road maintenance, which is too little. And URF says that we cut its budget, and that's the reason that it also cut KCCA by almost 70%. So we need to maintain our roads. But also not to note, we have lost the ecosystem in the city. They have talked about floods. Whenever it rains nowadays, in just 30 minutes, our roads are submerged.
Thank you.
The greatest enemy.
No, Honorable,
Right, Honorable.
you have colleagues to support you. This is a run for your area. You need more of the support. Honorable Namboze, you need people to support you on this. And you've done a good job in mobilizing us to support the run and infrastructure in Kampala. And we always appreciate it. 2 minutes each one of us.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand to support the report and the recommendations, and I associate myself with all the good things that have been mentioned in the report and my previous colleague has contributed. In particular, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to request this Parliament to save us the problems of discussing unity, expansion, working together as KCCA and the metropolitan areas, because it has a lot of constitutional issues. This House has on several occasions tried to work out a structure that could unite this area under one entity for proper planning and running of activities, but we have always ran into constitutional hurdles because of the provisions of Chapter 11 of our Constitution, more so with the issues to do with regional governments, the deemed Buganda that is supposed to be one entity under the regional government, and all that stuff. The fact of the matter is that this country chose decentralization as a policy, and we should always try to work within that policy. I know the districts with assistance and the metropolitan municipalities will be able to run these funds effectively. To Mr. Speaker, let the unity be at the ministerial level, because at the end of the day we have one cabinet. So the Minister of Kampala.
Thank you, Honorable Sewanyana.
Right Honorable Speaker, I support the committee report and most of the recommendations, more especially where the chair of the committee recommended unity between the local governments and Kampala Capital City Authority. Right Honorable Speaker, we have a problem with the implementation of some sections of the Kampala Capital City Authority, which provides the institution of the Kampala Capital Authority and Metropolitan Planning Committee, Fiscal Planning Committee, in the KCCA Act. That provision, although it wasn't supported by Parliament, it would have helped us to create that unity, which has been recommended by the chair and the committee, because it will take a problem to come up with a plan which is jointed between the various municipalities if you don't have that committee. And you know, as Madam Honorable Betty Namboze has cited, the decentralization around, each head of his municipality, including KCCA, thinks that they can plan for themselves. Now this loan is coming in as a joint where they have to unite and cause development in the whole city. So I can see that as a problem. So Parliament can help us to go through that problem as we foresee the development of our area. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Hira Chiaga. Honorable cannot debate your report.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the loan, borrowing. If we are to decongest Kampala, we have to improve the infrastructure of the neighboring districts of Kampala. And one of them is in PG. Mpiji is now accommodating many people, Right Honorable Speaker, and I think it is time to improve the infrastructure, and one of the roads that were given to our district is the one connecting Mitiana to Mpiji. So I really welcome the idea of the loan. However, Right Honorable Speaker, we come with the appetite of supporting loans, and loans end up being diverted to other things that are not essential. And for the purpose, I would recommend that we stick to the reasons for which we are borrowing. I remember we came here because we don't have power. Electricity has to be extended to our places. Up to now, we passed the loan, but up now there is no power. I mean, electricity is not yet extended. Right Honorable Speaker, if we are to decongest Kampala, I support the loan.
Thank you. Honorable Narimabeti, Honorable Kakembo.
Right Honorable Speaker, I join the rest to support this loan. But we would also wish to get some additional information. Did the committee consider that the $30 million that is going to be deducted from the 48 million, is it going to be catered for on those key areas that are decongesting as mentioned, including the Nsanji, the Matuga Nsanji route and the Jokers Mokono route? And also, we need to get to know, did you further subdivide the remaining 18 million as how the other institutions, the local governments and the KCC are going to divide that money, so that later on you might think that we are getting when the whole share is taken by one entity? That aside, let me also get some clarity. When you talked about the railway line, you have already taken people's land, rather taken your land back. Why now talk about compensation of the railway line when you have already broken, especially the Namamve route from Kampala? Why talk about compensation? People are already crying. I thought all is cleared, now ready to get on. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, I really want to caution you also. You see, when you are processing such a loan, business of saying, add in this road, remove from here, take here. We have tried to do it before, and we've come back here when the resolution, some of them have been rejected. This is part of the extensive negotiations with the government. These are taken as proposals from our side, so we shall give government room, because how do you consider that now go add in this road? How did you reroute the other road? Okay, so let's give the planners a chance. Here we are looking at the principle, and then our committees, sectoral committees, our oversight committees will ensure that the implementation of the project is well done. But when we start saying reduce 30 million here, then you add in this project, we shall be not on the right trajectory. Honorable Kakembo. And then,
thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker. I'm standing also to add my voice to thank the committee for the report. And indeed, they visited Entebbe. I want to be very appreciative to that. Entebbe as one of the beneficiaries, I must add my voice in supporting this report and the loan and the recommendation therein. Right, Honorable Speaker, there is a few issues that we need to put to the attention of this House and the Minister of Works when it comes to the issue of compensation and the procurement process. Many times we have bold and we take long to implement. And sometimes the issues of compensation becomes a very big challenge because the local governments, as we speak, they don't have money. Most of the money they would have used to compensate is now, the issue has been raised by a honorable colleague from Wakiso district, in as far as releasing the money back to the local government is concerned. Now I want to ask the minister, the issue of compensating some of the affected in these processes. Municipalities are having serious issues with this kind of Ugandans who are very serious with the law and they are complaining they should be compensated because that's what the law says. And the town clerk will tell you, see, we don't have money at this World Bank money. They do not, it doesn't include compensation. How, as government, should we come in to make sure that as this money comes, government is ready to help? I can take information from Honorable Nathan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Visited all the affected areas. We are assured that the local governments have negotiated purely and they have consent papers, that there will be nothing like compensation. And I think Honorable from Wakiso can bear with me with this. We don't have any compensation to make. It has been cleared by who? By the local authorities. We are assured. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable colleague, for that information, and I'm taking it in good faith. But the truth of the matter, you got to...
Thank you. Your time is up, Honorable Milton Muwu. I hope you won't push that we make a resolution that all men who stay on the Mukono route on plenary days should be reaching 9:30. Because and Honorable numbers has added women. Honorable.
Yeah, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, there are two motions. Motion about the meter gauge rally and the motion about the loan in Kampala. I pray that at an opportune moment, it pleases you to call upon members who want to speak about motion number 4 so that we also pronounce ourselves.
Colleagues, I made it very clear. When you stand up, you...
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to support government borrowing, and I want to thank the chair for the committee for the recommendations. Honorable colleagues, Kampala and the surrounding areas make the face of this country. And we have had issues that Kampala and its infrastructure is one of the poorest we have in the region. So when this money is borrowed and it is put on the development of Kampala and the metropolitan area, I stand to support very faithfully on this matter. I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Moti.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would just want to comment on the just concluded KCCA urban project. With this project, up to date, the roads which were done, especially like in Nakawa division where I live, there are still sections which have not been concluded. And I can see the minister is here. 2 ministers, moreover, maybe they will tell us. These sections are still maram. Take, for example, Right Honorable Speaker, you have lived in our region in Chanja to some point. There is this road from Chanja to the circular road. It starts on Prime Petroleum and comes out through the township. That road has a section of about 150 meters, which are yet to be done. 3 years down the road since the project was concluded. So I would like the minister to explain what plans do they have as KCCA for these portions of roads which are unconcluded so many years since the respective projects were done. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Wanzara Noah. Honorable.
We discussed about the Kampala and the metropolitan areas, and we looked at having a joint planning unit for both Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono, Mpigi, and those other areas. But Mr. Speaker, what went into the minds of the district leaders of Wakiso, Mukono?
Please, I don't want shortcuts. I know you. You know, I look at your faces and I know whether you're guilty or not. So please, Honorable, your colleague in the committee, you played your role. Yeah. And I'm not happy you again didn't sign the report. So if you continue, you know, yes, I have it. I have the report here. Please. So, Honorable colleagues, there is the issue of absorption. The issue of absorption is the KCCA. What is wrong? We give you a lot of money. Now we are adding you money. Absorption. I was talking to one of the people. Yeah, they told me that Uganda now, we are ranking the worst in absorption of loans. And yet we are paying interest on money that is not absorbed. So the issue of absorption is an issue we need to look at as oversight. Seriously, as a committee. You wanted to comment on that, on the absorption issue?
President, on a point of procedure, there are issues of absorption. And when you look at the terms of borrowing, if you can get the paper, and you see the interest on dispersed and undispersed funds under both loans, the percentages are worrying. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, on the takeaways, quick ones, is the unit cost. Right Honorable Speaker, I've looked at the road from Mukono, and I've listened carefully. The road from Mukono, only where in Mukono is where they have indicated that each kilometer will go for 5 billion. And then I've heard Honorable Vyanyima saying they are going to build as is, no compensation. Then the big question that comes up, if you are not compensating, and the unity cost is 5 billion for Mukono, and you are building the road as is that a fair cost? And when to Kampala, they've dodged to put a unit cost in this report. And these are things. Two, government is dodging, also committing counterpart funding. Because we borrow, I've seen the amount of money for counterpart funding is almost near the loan we are going to borrow. And we don't have this money budgeted for in the budget. Then we are busy here approving a loan. And failure to disperse, we will attract interest. We are in the same road we've been on as a country.
Thank you. To conclude.
I've also looked at their report. There are 42 billion from the French loan, which they are not allocating anywhere. Is this miscellaneous expenditure? And the committee has not attached this money on any road, on any project. This money is for what? Let the committee come clean on these issues.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, on counterpart funding, my biggest issue is that we also take note as a parliament. We take note. When it comes to budgeting, we ask. We say, you committed on this, okay? Can you provide this money? Because you see, we can't do away with Kampala. The moment we say, because of that, therefore we don't approve a loan, and we leave Kampala in the state it is, we shall have not also performed very well. So we need to say, we came here, we committed, we said we are going to provide 100, 200 billion for this road. We want it in the budget. If you've not, we are going to cut here and we put it here. And we be serious on these matters. Okay, Remy, I had allowed Honorable Nen, something I understood. When someone you're not picking him, the shortcut has become procedure. Now I have looked for a solution for procedure. I have found also it's my discretion to pick someone for procedure. So let's be patient. I always allow you. I can't allow 10 people to speak at once. Take your time. Honorable Nen.
I rise to support the quest for loan to refurbish the rail line from Kampala to Malaba for reasons that aware that 70% of our inland cargo goods pass through the eastern route through Malaba, aware that in a single day we have thousands of trucks plying that same route, causing many accidents. This would be a game changer for our economy. The big question is, the refurbishment that we have captured here, does it streamline the railway transportation that our importers will start using the railway station? The second point is the environmental friendliness of railway transport. Aware that our road transport is hugely affected by weather. When it rains, everything comes to a standstill. I believe At a time when we are fighting climate crisis, the refurbishment of the railway line would be a game changer for our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Honorable Sirogwa.
Honorable Speaker, my name is Awede Victorious, Woman MP, Nakasongola District. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to support the committee and appreciate it for some good observations and the recommendation. It's true, in the morning and evening time, Kampala is always congested. So I just want to pray and support the construction and maintenance of the recommended roads. That's why I support the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you. One has decided to stand up at one. Oh, I had picked Honorable Cecilia Guard first. Yes. Yes. And then I pick all who are standing at one. And we finish. Because we have only one president in the House, so if I don't pick him, I might...
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm definitely interested in the two motions, but let me focus on the metropolitan areas. The government is always very smart in packaging loans for us. They package it in such a way that it becomes very swallowable. For me, if you talk about revival of the railway line, I'm very excited about it. If you talk about fixing roads in the metropolitan area where we all live now, we are all very excited. However, I just want to pick one area which has been overlooked. At least I've been listening. There's no need for me to have talked on this motion. Right Honorable Speaker, in the Constituent Assembly, Uganda wanted, many members wanted regional governments. But the majority opted for regional. We wanted regional government, but majority opted for deeming. Deeming was Honorable Sam Kotesa's motion, and that was bought and has been enshrined in the Constitution. Under Article 178, Right Honorable Speaker, it is very clear that Buganda, where there is Wakiso, Mukono, and Mpigi, is in Buganda, and is one regional block, deemed to be one. Kampala stands alone. Kampala stands alone. If it is Buganda, we'll discuss it. But it stands alone. Sorry, Speaker, can I explain? Now, it's very clear under Article 178, which says it is 1 or 2 districts come together. Right, Honorable Speaker, my concern, and I would want maybe the Attorney General, somebody who can enlighten us on this. When we approve this loan, the implementation may be a problem because of this constitutional entanglement. We did not look at it at all. It's important we look at it. How do we take out a block from within Buganda and run it as one sub-block? It becomes practically difficult. But I would want to have a way out. I want to propose a way out that maybe we could come up with interministerial committee for the purpose of implementation, so that we have the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Kampala coming together for the purpose of implementation. Otherwise, this constitutional provision, we'll have to explain it, because we have to do oversight, not only in the utilization of resources, but also the way we have applied the law. Sometimes government is very quick in breaching the law and they get away with it. At the end of the day, Parliament is the one who is blamed, because we are the final authority. So I would like those with legal mind, please look at Chapter 11 in our Constitution, particularly Article 178, and then we can look practically at how we are going to utilize the loan. The loan, the purposes of the two loans are very good. I support it, but can we follow the constitutional procedures? I thank you.
Now, the government is integrated, and to make it even easier now, we are on program-based budgeting. This is the program. That's why the Honorable Byanyumas and team, we are on this program of infrastructure, cutting across Kampala City. Last time, the Committee on Physical Infrastructure was only limiting itself only to roads under UNRWA Road Fund. Roads in KCCA, we always handled them under Committee on Presidential Affairs. But now we are on program-based budgeting and planning. So it's a program. So all ministers falling under that program should be able to coordinate together and handle the program. That's what Honorable has emphasized. So let us limit ourselves to a program. And colleagues, we are going in work which is not ours. This is work of the executive. Let them go and do their work, but they've listened to our concerns as a house. Okay? Honorable asked him to go into a closet and bring out some issues. So when I tell you to sit down and you keep harassing me, then you make me go into details. So when I'm guiding, you're a member of the committee, you cannot debate your report. That's what the rules say. Whether through procedure, whether through what, you can only give one colleague around you. Okay? Thank you. Yes. Now no ministers I wanted to. But anyway, I will allow Honorable Namyangu to appreciate ministers who come. When they are here, they are also. Yeah. So I pick Honorable Namyangu. I pick Christine. I pick the group you had picked ourselves. Let's do quick.
Borrowing from Bunyoro, I want to appeal to colleagues. We have roads like running from Mobende through Kakumiro, Chivale, Kagadi. It goes through so many districts, but it was done. We are talking about service delivery to our people. And if you look at most of our roads within Kampala and the metropolitan area, people are even selling on the roads. We are saying even markets are going to be developed. So for me, Right Honorable, would have even passed this loan long ago so that our people can have better services in terms of infrastructure.
Thank you.
So I stand to appeal to colleagues that let's pass this loan, let the infrastructure be developed in Kampala and the neighboring districts so that we can all be happy.
And the railway.
And the railway. The railway, for us who go to the east, we are just struggling with the trucks. Trucks everywhere. Today I took a ride from here at around 11 just to Mukono, Namamvi. I didn't even reach Mukono. It took me 3 hours. Yes. So, friends, let's pass this loan. Actually, I would want even to propose that we stop the debate and pass the loan.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Speaker, the issue of the work plans is very critical. We should actually have the work plan of the 65 billion. You are aware the metropolitan area, Kampala, was given that money. And then we have for this loan, so as to avoid duplication of services. Mr. Speaker, on the second report, there was an aspect on
were not provided for because the money was transferred to Kampala. It is my humble request that we consider returning that because we have already now got money which we can use. Thank you. Either this financial year or the next financial year as we budget, we should consider and make sure we return our monies because we are losing them. Thank you.
Arwa?
I would feel much more happy if the committee, the National Economic Committee, briefs Parliament at least quarterly to inform us on the performances of these loans. Because in most cases we pass these loans, we do not know where these loans end. Either they end up in the rightful hand or they end up in the hands of the corrupted people. And then second, Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of the railway. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to bring the attention of this House that we already have a Spanish company that is making the concrete sleepers that is supposed to serve Mukono to Kampala. That's for the railway. That's for the meter gauge. Now, why don't we use the same company to serve Kampala to Malaba, to avoid vandalizing? Because when we talk about metal slippers, anybody will steal and they will sell it as a crap. Lastly, when it comes to KCCA, I'm much more aware that we just passed a budget. And in that budget, we had removed money from road fund, which is about 65 billion. 65 or 86 billion. And now we are yet processing a loan here for KCCA and the Metropolitan. Why don't we return the 65 billion to its original pool, and we give it to other districts to benefit, as this one is going to shoot for the others? Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the two reports. Right Honorable Speaker, anybody who went through the school system and studied the GP General Paper or SST must have known that the cheapest means of transport is water, followed by railway, roads, and then air. So, Right Honorable Speaker, if the government is getting this loan to facilitate the rehabilitation of the railway line, I would say this is highly supported, and I would urge my colleagues to support.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, secondly,
Next time we don't add on border.
Standard gauge railway. Actually, Uganda is far behind. I've already talked about meter gauge, Right Honorable Speaker. The standard gauge railway that already is being implemented in Kenya and in Tanzania. And the committee report clearly indicates that Uganda moves faster in tandem with other sister countries. I would also urge the government to move faster and we implement the standard gauge railway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leku, then Max Ochai.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I remember in the last parliament, there's a member from Eastern who is now a minister, who said that because of traffic jam, it has given them problems of having morning glory. The morning glory. Sometimes, Right Honorable Speaker, we stay around drinking, we go to the bars because we cannot go back home, because the traffic jam is intense. But, Honorable Speaker, as we move on to discuss this law, which I fully support, the Ugandans outside there who are watching us, they will want to know which roads are actually in this law. I will request that we actually lay down the roads. We know it's a road from this place to this, so that people know, understand that my road is going to be worked on. Number two, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of compensation. The compensation has remained an issue in Uganda. Most times, the people who implement these projects, they run around and buy plots. They buy land along these roads where they are going to do the road works. And they start doing some works along there. So that when the compensation comes in, they reap much bigger. And some of these officials are in UNRWA, then government officials. So as Parliament, we should move forward and make a ruling that before, at this time, maybe from this day to this, any work you do there, you'll not get value for that money.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you.
Then
Now,
we have other cities which are still in offing. I'll request that tomorrow, once this is cleared.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Code, that traffic jam cannot stop you from praying, because the members clearly talked of morning glory, which means morning prayers. Issues of glory are issues to do with God. I want the answer that captured it very well. So there are issues for prayers. Even in your car, you can pray. Even from your workplace, you can pray. So please, I want it to be captured on the answer. Yes, I had allowed Honorable Max Ochai.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm not going to talk about the morning glory. Mine is basically on the sustainability of these project interventions. on. Mine is basically on sustainability of these project interventions. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the second motion to the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program, I want to observe that the committee did a thorough loan appraisal. To the extent that they found the financial viability of the loan to be highly concessional, and to the extent that they found from the cost-benefit analysis that the program is likely to be highly beneficial, I fully support the recommendations that ensure. Particularly, the recommendation to the effect that we need a new city. To me, this is long overdue. Within East African community, we have a case of Tanzania where the old capital city was relocated to another place. Why not us? I believe we can do the same. I come from Tororo, particularly where the railway, the meter gauge railway passes, that is the West Putnam North constituency. I welcome the idea of refurbishing the meter gauge railway to the extent that it will open up opportunities for trade in the area, given that that place is income poor. Our people will have opportunity to produce their products and then sell to other areas using the railway line. And so I therefore support the motion that we have the loans approved and ensure that the interventions are highly sustainable through a robust.
Thank you.
That 30 million be taken away from the grant element, I wish to provide the following facts. Out of the 48 million, only 10% is for capacity building, 35% is for retooling, and 55% is for discretionary activities. And what are these activities? Activity number one is e-governance, in other words, system development.
Honorable Number.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we all know what the word only means. But to say that 10% of a budget going for capacity building is little money, as being reported by the minister, is so misleading. And Mr. Speaker, we depend on these ministers to take decisions. Is it really okay and good information to this House when a minister tells us that 10% of the funds we are trying to procure through loans that are going to be paid back by our grandchildren is little money for only capacity building? Surely, Mr. Speaker, sir.
No, Honorable colleague, the minister is providing information. And for us, we express our opinion on the information he has given us by either accepting or rejecting it. But we cannot stop him from giving us information. Because it's also this information is not only his, it's information from government. So we cannot stop him from giving information.
Mr. Speaker, point 2 is that this money will go for feasibility studies and detailed designs for the roads, markets, and drainages in the areas where we are going to do the roads. Point 3 is physical planning for all the 9 entities. Point 4 is own resource revenue improvement through property evaluation, etc. Point 5 is waste management practices. Point 6 is asset management and sustainability. Point 7 is traffic management systems. And point 9 is environmental impact assessment. Mr. Speaker, I pray that the House, I take it.
No, Minister. Mr. Speaker.
From my experience, we normally work with the committee up to the last minute, and even up to this stage, where we are in the committee of the whole House, when there is information, extra information we need to provide, we always do so, Mr.
I now put a question that a motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to UA 125.6 million, equivalent of euro 147.69 million from the African Development Fund, and UA 50 million, equivalent of euro 59 million from the African Development Bank, and euro 25.9841 million from the Corporate Internationalization Fund of Spain for the refurbishment of the Kampala-Maraba Meter Gauge Railway project be adopted. Those in favor say aye, and the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Clerk, extract a resolution. And I now put a question that a motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to special drawing rights, SDR 34.8 million, equivalent to USD 518 million, from the International Development Association, IDA, of the World Bank Group, and receive a grant of special drawing rights, SDR 34.8 million, equivalent to USD 48 million, from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group, and also borrow up to euro 40 million, equivalent to USD 42.66 million, from Agency France de Development, AFD, to finance the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Program be adopted. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Next item. Colleagues, we have adopted the recommendations of the committee as provided for in the report. Thank you.
Item number 6, motion